answer to anything are people who see war as an answer to nothing. And they will never fight them because they don't want to know. Opposames go to war, two groups who see war as an answer to something. And I'll give you a great example of opposames. During the last war, World War, the far left, as symbolized by Joseph Stalin, was played off against the far right, as symbolized by Adolf Hitler. And of course they were very different. We all know that. Teacher told me once. See, Joseph Stalin was into centralized control, military dictatorship, and concentration camps. And of course Adolf Hitler, as we know, was into something very different. He was the opposite of that. He was into centralized control, military dictatorship, and concentration camps. And these were played off against each other as opposites when they were just opposames. If someone can tell me a difference between a Muslim religious person imposing his belief on his children at the exclusion of other possibilities, and a rabbi imposing his belief on his children to the exclusion of all possibilities, and a Christian bishop doing the same, then I'd like to hear it. Opposames. Same state of being, different name on the door, different dress on. And these opposames are being played off all over society to create this divide and rule. And this is why when someone stands up with a different vision of possibility to the norm, they are jumped upon so fiercely. Because someone with a different vision of possibility shows that the norms are not the only possible reality. And of course, to control, that has to remain in people's minds as the only possible reality. Well, RJ, this is what it's like. Nothing you can do about it. I don't know whether you've come across this film called Bug's Life. It's a kind of animated film. It is so profound when you watch it. And there's one clip in it which I'm going to show you, which indicates some of the key methods of how the few control the many. For people who haven't seen it, there's this ant colony, symbolic of the human race, at a place called Ant Island. There's millions of these friggin' ants. And then there's a handful of grasshoppers. And the grasshoppers terrify the ants and frighten them and divide and rule them into spending their entire lives all year gathering food, not for themselves, for these grasshoppers who come once a year, take all the food, and off they go. One year, one ant stands up to these grasshoppers. And the clip you're going to see, these grasshoppers are in their winter quarters, you might call it. They have all the food they need for the winter. And one or two of these grasshoppers start to say, hey, we don't have to go to Ant Island to get all that food. We don't need it. We can stay here. And then the leader tells them the reality of what must happen if the few are going to control the many. And because people say to me sometimes, and I understand it, why do these people who've got more money and more companies and more businesses and more wealth than they could spend in 1,000 lifetimes, why did they go on gathering more? It's just greedy. No, at that level it's not about greed, it's about controlling the flow of money and wealth and finance so the people are controlled through that means. And this is the clip.
See, I've been thinking, okay, which is something that I do, being vice president and all. And this is a thought, and it was mine. Why go back to Ant Island at all? I mean, you don't even like grain. What? You're right. I didn't think it was such a good idea myself. Actually, it wasn't even my idea. It was Axel and Loco's. They talked fancy to me. I got confused.
Guys, order another round, because we're staying here!
Yeah.
What was I thinking going back to Ant Island? I mean, we just got here, and we have more than enough food to get us through the winter, right? Why go back? But there was that ant that stood up to me.
Yeah, but we can forget about him.
Yeah, it was just one ant. One ant.
Yeah, you're right. It's just one ant.
Yeah, boy, they're puny.
Puny? Say, let's pretend this grain is a puny little ant. Did that hurt?
Nope.
Well, how about this one?
Are you kidding?
How about this?
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
He's quite the motivation. Stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
He's quite the motivational speaker, isn't he? Let's ride!
And in that little clip are so many elements that are used on the human race all the time. But the key is to keep us in ignorance of the true magnitude of who we are, and to keep us in ignorance that there is any manipulation on the scale I'm going to reveal tonight going on. So, in the next few hours, we're going to look behind this movie that is projected at us through the media and education and, oh my goodness, day after day, lifetime after lifetime. We're going to look behind the movie screen and see what's really going on, symbolized by this card I found, where you've got the peacock symbolically projecting this movie, and the lady peacock is saying, cut the crap and show us your willy. And what we're going to say to this system this evening is cut the crap and show us your willy. And it's not a pretty sight, I have to tell you. But it's actually worth seeing just out of interest. Well, that's what they tell me anyway. I don't know about that. Now, this manipulation of the world has not been going on for 5 years or 10 years or 10 decades. It's been going on for thousands of years. When I started on this journey of uncovering this, I didn't know there was anything to uncover, really. When I started, I knew there was manipulation going on, but this big, my goodness. I came to the point, particularly about 1995, when I wrote a book called And the Truth Shall Set You Free, where I kind of established the structure by which the world is controlled today, and we'll get into that in the second part of the evening. Very simple structure. Couldn't work if it was complex. May appear complex, but it's dead simple at its core. It has to be. And it was very clear to me when I'd seen how this works today that this could not have been created in a short time. It had to have been created over a long period.